Good morning, students. So in the previous module, we have learned how to construct a portfolio. So we have seen Markowitz mean variance model, Sharpe's single index model, and CAP cluster pricing model. But what happens after the construction of a portfolio? So the portfolio management process doesn't end with this. So it is important to evaluate the performance of the portfolio that is being constructed. Sometimes an individual constructs his own portfolio, he will track the stocks in it, he will see how the performance of his portfolio is, he can compare it with the market, or he can compare it with other professionally managed funds. But most of the times, investors don't have enough time or knowledge to track a portfolio or to have their own portfolio, even to construct it or to check its performance. So they rely on professionals who manage the portfolios for them. So it is called in our country mutual funds, a professionally managed fund. But there are several funds available for the investors. So which one to choose? How do they know which one is performing well? So we have three different measures to compare, to check, evaluate the performance of the funds and to compare, and also we can rank them with the help of it. So in portfolio evaluation, there are three different measures. The first measure, what we are going to see, is the Sharpe's performance index. So this index measures the risk premium of the portfolio in terms of its total risk. So it gives a single value which you can use to compare the funds and also to rank them. So the formula goes like this: ST is equal to RP minus RF divided by sigma P. So we know RP is a portfolio return, RF is the risk-free rate of return, and sigma P is the total risk of the portfolio, or in other words, standard deviation of the portfolio return. So let's take an example. Let's take fund A and fund B. And the average annual return for 7%, and the risk-free rate of return 5%. Standard deviation percentage. So if you have to calculate for this, for fund A and for fund B, the Sharpe's index, so for fund A it will be for fund B so these are the results that we are getting. So for fund A it is 0.457 and fund B it is 0.427. So the larger the ST, the better the fund has performed. So in this example, if we see A is ranked better, so it is 0.457, this is greater than this one. So this rank, if we have to give, so this will be the first rank and this will be the second rank. So out of these two funds you can choose fund A, though the return of the portfolio, if you see, it is 13.47 for fund B, but according to Sharpe, fund A is better based for the given risk. Let's take another example. So there are 4 funds and we are going to rank these funds using Sharpe single index model. So the problem is given details. Fund names. This is Alpha Fund. Then we have (17, 18, 16, 14 in percentage). Similarly, standard deviation of these funds. So we calculate Sharpe's index. We know the formula. So for fund 1, that is Alpha Fund, so here the risk-free rate of return RF is assumed to be 9%. So for the second fund, so these are the Sharpe's value. You can see for Alpha Fund it is 0.421, for the second fund Venu Fund it is 0.45, Beta it is 0.538 and for Gamma it is 0.417. So if you have to rank these funds, so we'll know this is 1, this is 2, this is 3 and this is 4. If as an financial advisor, if you have to advise an investor, so you can see based on the performance of the funds, you can see that fund Beta Fund and the next one Venu Fund has performed well. So if he has to choose among these funds based on the ranking, they can select which one is the best one. The second one will be the Trainer's Performance Index. So using this, the fund's performance can be measured in relation to the market's performance. So an ideal fund according to this will be the one which rises a faster rate than the overall market performance, especially when the market is moving upwards, and its rate of return declines more slowly than the market return in a declining market. So we measure using this formula, RP minus RF divided by beta P. So average return of the portfolio minus risk-free rate of return divided by the systematic risk of the portfolio. So the trainer's risk premium of the portfolio is the difference between the average return and risk-free rate of return. And the risk premium depends on the systematic risk assumed in a portfolio. Say for example, let's take fund A and B, and the average rate of return B 8.79, 13.47%, and the beta for fund A, it is 0.499 and 1.2493, and the risk premium, say RF is 5%, this would be 'So based on trainer's measure, we can say fund A is more valuable than B because it earns a higher risk premium per unit of systematic risk. So trainer's measure of 0.076, and this is for fund B, it is 0.0678. So if we have to rank, so the rank fund A, his rank will be 1 and fund B will be 2. We can take one more example. Say for example, there is fund A, B and C. The fund's returns, and the risk-free rate of return is 9%. So the trainer's index So in this we can say, if you have to rank, fund A has performed better, then fund next to it is fund B, and the third one is fund C. If you have to choose among these three, you can choose fund A. Now the third one is the Jensen's Performance Index. So Michael Jensen has developed this absolute risk adjusted return measure, which is commonly known as Jensen's measure. So this calculates the excess return that a portfolio generates over its expected return. That is nothing but comparing the actual return of the portfolio with the calculated return. So he uses CAPM formula to calculate the portfolio return. Let's say Jensen's Performance Index. So in CAPM, we use RP is equal to RF plus beta into RM minus RF. So to calculate the portfolio return. So using this, we calculate the portfolio return and compare it with the actual return of the portfolio. Let's say, for example, we will take portfolio A, B, C. And the portfolio return and for RM market return is 12, and the beta is 1.2 for portfolio A, 0.8 for B, 1.5 for C, and market we know beta is 1, and the risk-free rate of return is 5%, which is common for all the portfolios. Now if you have to calculate the portfolio return for portfolio A, will be 5% plus beta is 1.2, RM minus RF 4%. Similarly, this is also in percentage. So we are getting 13.4%, 10.6% and 15.5%. When we compare it with the actual return, see for portfolio A it is actual return and the expected return. Actual will take from the problem. So it is 15, 12 and 15, and the expected return from these portfolios are 13.4, 10.6 and 15.5. So what is the difference? This is 1.6, 1.4, this is minus 0.5. So actual minus expected. So when we compare these three, portfolio A gives a better return, portfolio B excess of 1.4, and C is the last option, which actually is not meeting the expected return. So when we compare these portfolios using CAPM model, this is what we get. But according to under the Jensen's model, if we have to compare the portfolio performances or the fund based on the fund manager's ability. Now what is this fund manager's ability? So in a normal average portfolio return can be calculated using this CAPM formula. But if a fund manager is consistently performing well and his portfolio returns are consistently more than the average portfolio return, then there is this common factor, there is some common factor in that which has to be considered. Jensen calls this or gives a name for this factor called alpha P, which is nothing but the portfolio manager's predictive ability, or let's say the managerial ability. Okay, so this is alpha P. So when we have to compare the funds based on this, we will have to use, which we know, this additional component has been included by Jensen. RF, or we can RP minus RF beta into RM minus RF. So now uses this formula to calculate the value of alpha P, and then this alpha P is being divided by beta P for the better measure, especially for the ranking purpose of the funds. Let's take for example 3 funds, fund A, or portfolio you can call. See the return and let's say the market return is 36.74 and the risk-free return is 9%. Now the beta for these portfolios market beta we know 1. So now we have to calculate alpha P first. So according to Jensen's index, we know RP minus RF is equal to alpha P plus beta into RM minus RF. So for fund A, alpha P value we get as 10. Now for better measure, for ranking purpose, we need to divide it by beta value 0.23. 48. Now the next one, and for the third one, so we get a value of 30.29 for the third one. So when we look at these values, the fund A has 43.48, fund C 30.29 and fund D 24.74. 7.3. So fund A is ranked 1, fund C is ranked 2 and fund B is ranked 3. So this is how we rank funds using the Jensen's model.